Ladies and gents, welcome to a very, very special episode tonight of the Jibber Jabber Podcast. As you guys will have seen throughout the week, we've promoted this everywhere on social media. We are joined tonight by the amazing, iconic singer-songwriter G. Tom Mac. Everybody in here will have been anticipating this interview tonight because we're going to give you the opportunity to speak to G via the comment section. So throughout this show, if there's something you would like to say to G and just connect with him on the show, pop it in the comments section and we will bring it up on screen and we'll ask G, and you can have your one-to-one with G here on the Jibber Jabber Podcast. 1987, the Lost Boys movie came out, and it's safe to say that that movie would not be what it was without Cry Little Sister. There's a great book that I actually read by Paul Davis and the guys at Cult Screenings called Lost in the Shadows, which many of you Lost Boys fans have, and there's a good 2 pages there on G and the story of that, but we don't need to read that because G is on the show himself. So ladies and gentlemen, please welcome G. Tom Mac.
Frog can creep out the wicked domain. A frog delivers no matter the pain. A frog knows how to comply with the moon. A frog knows better to work afternoon. A frog is fearless in every way. A frog don't quit until he can slay. Slay, 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 slay. A frog hero.
And here he is, G. Tom Mac. G, how are you tonight?
A G. Tom Mac hero. Sounds like a sandwich.
A G. Tom sub.
Hey, everybody.
Hey. So
Everybody
everybody's
in a
in
thou shalt not die mood.
Absolutely. There is Ross.
hope so.
Evening, guys. Hey, mate. Everyone
So
is
how's
always
it going,
in.
everybody, at the end of the world? Huh?
Well.
Be so morbid, but then again, I'm not so morbid, am I? I'm the one that's going
Not.
to save this bloody world. In the end, I
Yeah,
come,
well.
the hero.
It's a crazy time right now. So what better way to boost everyone's spirits than a night with G. Tom Mac? Here's Heather Dow in the comments saying hi, guys. There's Heather G.
Hey, Heather.
And there is Adam saying happening, guys. Speaking
Hey,
of Heather,
Adam.
we're going to actually announce something really cool today on the show, and that is, you guys have seen. Oops, try to get rid of the glare there. You
my
guys have.
original.
Yeah, absolutely. So G, you posted the original lyrics to Cry Little Sister on your social media, and it blew up with so many people wanting to know, will there be replicas? Will I be able to get a hold of these? And we can now officially tell them, yes, you can. And the pre-orders are actually live now at gtommac.com. If you go there, click on the merch page, there's a lovely wee pre-order there. Pre-order it and get yours at the end of September. G, we're going to chat about this. We're going to chat about this song that essentially sits upon the Mount Rushmore of songs. I mean, you name a better soundtrack than Lost Boys. You'll have a good couple contenders, but you'll not find a better soundtrack on the whole. And your song Cry Little Sister is just a massive part of that. Is it safe to say that you've felt the love throughout the years since writing Cry Little Sister?
Yeah, I mean, you never know what you're going to get out of yourself when you write a song. I mean, interesting, when I actually wrote the song, I thought it might be a little bit too adventurous for everybody. And I didn't really think it, I thought, knowing that Joel Schumacher had a very adventurous sort of artistic way about him, I thought, well, maybe it'll work, it was the first time I'd ever not taken a look at the film.
Yeah.
And, before coming up with a song for a movie. And it was, they sent me on a script, Joel did. And he said, why don't you take a look at it and see if you can come up with an idea. Maybe you'll get inspired by the script. And then I had sent it over, and I was living in New York, and they were in Santa Cruz shooting at the time. And that was the reason, obviously, they couldn't let me see anything because they were in the process of production. And then I read the script upon getting it. And then I was just enamored by it. I just loved first of all, I always loved when horror and humor sort of come in the middle, and you've got a good deal of intensity of the horror and then the comedy, the humor to sort of ease you into
Mm-hmm.
other aspects of the story. And yeah, I mean, but I had a completely different vision in my mind as to what the film was going to actually physically look like.
Mm.
And it was at that point where I was inspired by the script, and I went to the piano the following morning after reading it the night before. And then I just banged away, and this song came out. And going back between my guitar and my piano, and then I went up to the studio, and my mate Mike Minieri, who's a jazz guy, had this beat going on in the other room. And I thought, wow. And it was just sort of this eerie kind of thing. And I said, what's that? And he said, oh, I'm just working on something. And I said, can I take that? Because I just thought that whole vibe was kind of cool. I mean, I mucked with it a bit. And yeah, the song was pretty much written rather quickly. And then interesting about that lyric, though, it's I wrote it at home at my apartment, and then I wrote some of it in the studio. I remember because I didn't have the chorus straight away. When the next day, I mean, I think it was a couple of hours later or the next day, I came in and I finally found the chorus. And but I remember writing, and I could never find. I mean, that. By the way, I had to go looking for it because Paul Davis, who did the Lost in the Shadows book, I said, I have a copy. I wrote the original copy that I wrote the song on, and it's in somewhere. And I went, God, going back years, and you'd think that would be something you'd just put in your drawer, and you'd know where it would be all the time.
Yeah, absolutely.
But yeah, much like a lot of my songs, that I always keep the original copy. And it was back in the day, you physically wrote on something. I still do that. But yeah, that's the original copy, and I found it, and it was great to been able to put it in the Lost in the Shadows limited version, limited edition, I should say. But yeah. But anyway, getting back to wrote the song, sent it on to Joel in a demo form, and he just absolutely loved it. Called me a few days later saying, I can't believe you've not seen the film, and this is just perfect. And yeah, that's how it went.
That's amazing.
There's more to that story, but that's the basic seed of it.
Yeah, it's almost quite serendipitous how it came to be. And I was reading through earlier the Lost in the Shadows by Paul Davis, and just the elements that kind of were played. I was convinced after reading that and hearing you tell me previously, I was convinced that Joel Schumacher must have sold some of his soul to the devil to link you guys up at the exact time to make such a classic masterpiece. Because how often does that happen where you get a songwriter and someone that directed a movie where your visions just meet perfectly, like the yin and the yang, which created the feel, that enchantment.
Not that often. The other time I did that was but the song was already, Cameron Crowe on Fast Times at Ridgemont High with my song Look in Your Eyes. I remember writing the song on my birthday. They needed something, and then I actually did see the film. Yeah, of course I did. And I went over there with my producer Jimmy Iovine at the time, and he hated the movie, and I thought it was I'd just been in Los Angeles just a short time.
I liked it.
And I just said, I think it's a classic. And he said, are you, Jimmy's from New York. If you know anything about Jimmy Iovine, he basically, he's iconic in the sense that he produced U2, he produced, he signed Lady Gaga. I mean, the list goes on. I mean, his partner became Dr. Dre, and the rest is, go look him up. But, I knew he being a New Yorker probably wouldn't like probably just had a different taste about, the coming of age films. But anyway, to get back to it, it doesn't happen that often. In the case with Cameron, who wrote the script, but he had a choice. He was the choice maker of the songs that went in that film. And that was sheer magic that happened with Lost Boys. I really always say, I love that Joel was so adventurous in his taste about music and about, especially, you know, he wanted a theme song. And the record label at the time, they were going like, well, I was known, but I was not that well known. And they basically said, well, this sounds too adventurous, not too adventurous. They said it sounds too futuristic. You know, we couldn't really be a single. And I just said, well, you know, and then I'm thinking, you know, well, they're going to talk Joel into taking it out of the film. And he and Richard Donner, the late Richard Donner, and well, they're both late at this point, which is sad to know.
Yeah.
But yeah, they just stood behind it, and they said, and then they wanted to get somebody else to sing it, and I was fine with that. I've just really, you know, I already at that point I was writing. I'd already written for other people like Kiss and for Carly Simon and this one and that one. I was kind of living in New York and just being my artist self in Greenwich Village. And I'd been on the road so much, had bad management and all that kind of crap. And then I just wanted to be left alone. And, but yeah, Joel, then it came down to them. I said, find somebody else to sing it. They tried loads of, you know, Steve Perry. And I don't know. Joel let them have their day in the sun with trying another vocalist on my demo. And Phil Collins, I think, was one as well. But
can you imagine that?
You know, I know. I mean, it's just sort of like, why, you know, anyway, I don't want to go down that road. Yeah. But then Joel said, no, Gerard is my real name. Gerard Thomas McMahon. He's the voice of this movie. And I'm standing by this, and that's how, you know, and good for him that he did. He not only got a good singer, but he got a vibe as well.
It's an enchantment. That's what I would refer to it as. It's an enchantment, an enchanted partnership.
You know, I actually was speaking to Victoria, who did this painting in the back here. Victoria.
Amazing.
Well,
yeah.
Go to, at the Shadow Gallery. She's an amazing painter.
She was on this show before, yeah.
Yeah, and so I was saying, you know, that chorus, when that happened, it just felt like somebody else was writing it. It was weird because I had this weird feeling something was coming. And you don't get that often. You know, I mean, you do feel fulfilled in a way when you've written a good song and you kind of go, oh my God, you know. But it was just, when I got to that chorus, when I was able to create that chorus, I just felt something else was going on. It was like out of body. I can't even explain it, but something was taking over. So,
sold his soul to the devil. Sold a select part of his soul.
A little bit of the devil and an angel at the same time. Wouldn't you say?
Yep, the perfect recipe.
Oh, that's what I'm made up of, am I? You never lose being that, mate.
So, you got sent the script, right? And you said that the movie was completely different to you. What would that look like in your head? Can you kind of describe to us what Lost Boys was to you and where your head was at when you started writing Cry Little Sister for it?
Well, I was living in New York, and New York at that time in the 80s was, you know, you walked out your apartment and you saw crack vials, and there were people sleeping on the streets and in the subways and anywhere they could, homeless people anyway. And it was a very, very gothic period, you know, and you had this whole onslaught of wealth going on in the 80s, and the whole, you know, you had Wall Street only stone throw away, and then with all this money that was being made in the 80s, and you know, it was the same thing with Reagan and Thatcher. It was a big, you know, it was that, you know, make the rich richer and all that stuff. Nothing wrong with that, but make the poor a bit richer too. While you're at the about it, right? Figure something out. But anyway, not to go down that road either. But I can't help myself. You know that. Right? But interesting enough, there was a lot to draw on, and it was also my own personal, you know. I related so much to that character, David. And, you know, I've always thought he was as sort of rebel without a cause that he had in modern day James Dean or whatever, vampire. I felt he was very lonely. And it's interesting that later on, Keith Hurd told me said that he yeah, he said, when I read it part, I thought it was a very lonely soul. And so there was an interesting, without even having a conversation, obviously I didn't know Kiefer at that point. And
Mm-hmm.
it was very much, yeah, it was that also, the chorus really brought out, I wanted to tie in Star and also Michael, because that was the trilogy of the three of them, because it
Mm-hmm.
was, both of them had this, we would say, thing for her, but it was even deeper than that, because they were all a family, I mean,
Mm-hmm.
Michael wasn't, but he's been lured into this whole thing. And he comes from a, single mom and all of that, and just traveled, and he's at the age where he doesn't know. They're all at the age where they're just trying stuff out. And
Mm-hmm.
I think that the song that I was trying to create, and hopefully I did, it seems I did, it related to the film, but it also related that people could relate to it. I mean, it's
Yeah.
a sense of finding your family, not necessarily your biological family, but we all go out and find our tribe.
I
And
like what you done there.
pardon?
I like what you done. A wee nod to the sequel or Tribe.
Yeah. Well, I didn't mean that kind of tribe, but
I know.
again, I won't go down that road either.
Oh, I had that written down.
No, I mean, there was some stuff that, listen,
Yeah.
milking the franchise. Um, but yeah, I think, yeah, I mean, that's it in a nutshell. I've told the story so many times, but I think I've
Yeah.
basically slowed it down a bit so I could understand what my story was to myself.
Well, we got a comment here from Brian McLaughlin says, "Cry Little Sister is a great track. Did G Tom Mac know how great it was?" And I think he refers to at that time when you made that. Did you know? Wait a minute, this is just something else.
Well, like I said, when I wrote the chorus, I knew it was something else.
Mm-hmm.
And just getting the production right and all of that. And, when I wrote the Thou Shalt Not stuff, I thought it was a bit of a joke to myself. And I'm
Yeah.
going, oh my God, they're going to think I've really gone off the deep end now. But it just, when it was finished and done, I just really just said, hey, it probably won't work for the movie because it is, it's got a dark thing to it. But
Mm-hmm.
I didn't want to do the typical 80s thing. We mucked around. I mean, Michael Manieri, who collaborator, and we were working on sounds, and he was brilliant, and we were just pulling up different things. And then, like I said earlier, the first thing I heard was that bass drum coming out of his studio. I had a studio right
Yeah.
next to his. So that was synergetic in its way. And then we had this instrument called a synclavier, which nobody had at that time. So it allowed us to go in and, I could find sounds that were
Mm-hmm.
different and unique. And, but I just didn't want to go make a typical, I mean, nothing wrong with that. I've written songs in the 80s that worked for that particular thing. I don't know. I think I just thought Lost Boys was a bigger thing than that, than anything. And I just, having not seen the film, by the way, when writing it and going and producing it, and when I did see when I went back to LA to look at it, I'm like, oh my God, this is nothing that I had in my head of what this was going to look like. Mind you, it's brilliant. I loved it. I thought, wow, what a great job.
Mm-hmm.
But it was just a different, darker movie in a way in my head.
And it just so happens
I
that.
basically, pardon?
Sorry, I was just saying, and it just so happens that Cry Little Sister became its identity. Like when you hear that song, you're always going to think of the Lost Boys. And we obviously done the screening over here in Bathgate Cinema, and the moment you hear that child's voice doing the chorus over the Warner Brothers logo, like the
Yeah.
place just goes mental because
I picked out, which is interesting.
Mm-hmm.
After I had a 20-piece boys choir, we recorded at the famous Electric Lady studio. We did the actual vocals there, not the entire track. But I wanted to do it Electric Lady because they had a great room to have, to put a good boys choir in. And they were all of the ages between 9 and 11. And that's the kind of age. And, had a good casting vocal director who basically, found the right voices, and they were all perfect to my liking. And after I drove everybody mad, getting that sound to be where, and they were going, what the hell is he after? And I just said, it would be a good take, but it wasn't like the take. And not that it took that long, but it was just getting for it to sound right with the mics, and just going back into the studio, coming back out into the room with the boys. And it was enough just getting there, because there's all kinds of things that go on. There's some that are a bit breathier than others, and I had them do that to get the sound I was hearing. And some of them a bit more full on. And finally, where, the Red Sea comes together, it sounded right. And then we went for it. And then after we did that, I listened to some of the boys singing the a cappella thing. And I did about, so that Joel and I could have choices, so I got 6 of the best ones, and then we just chose, we chose that.
Yeah, because it is layered.
One boy, yeah.
It's layered throughout the movie. You like Cry Little Sister is there in so many different ways throughout that movie. Like, for example, when David dies and the spikes, you hear, so you pretty much
it was
safeguarded
interesting
that.
when Joel wanted that. Joel wanted the song in so many different. It was a little overkill at first, I mean, that's what you go through, though. And then he was, he's smart enough to know, okay, got to pull it out of here. And but I just felt like after I said, I think it's in there for the right amount of places it's supposed to be. And we both, interesting in the beginning, they were basically, my voice would have been in, and I had to pull it out. And then my manager said, "You're committing artist suicide." And I said, "No, it's just better if the boys are over the river." And I remember the guy, I can't remember his name, who was editor, and he said, "No." Everybody agreed, like, no, it's more haunting, because it was better when I came back in the middle of the film with the the star and
the love scene,
and that was where Joe totally had that was him wanting it playing. He wanted it longer, but it was just the right amount too. I mean, Joel had this great way about him where he's a genius. He knew he could go throw stuff on the canvas, and he knew how to take stuff away too. He had the mind of an editor and the brilliance of a director. In that sense.
He's an absolute legend. He's someone that I'll always be like, damn, I never got a chance to meet the guy, but I only hear amazing things about him, and I've got many movies that I grew up watching of his, and it is pretty cool that very opening scene across the water, that it was your decision to take your own voice out of that, knowing that, and that's the kind of artist that you are. You look at the project and you don't take the vanity side of it. You looked at that project and it was that just needs that, and that speaks to exactly the artist you are. We've got a couple of questions here from the audience. Adam Warnock says, "What does G. Tom think is the most important part of a song?"
I think it's all important.
Yeah.
That's a really loaded question, Adam.
Yeah, no.
There's times I can tell you of other songs I've written what the most important part of the song is to me.
Yeah.
That's a really hard question to answer. I mean, I love the fact that at the very end, after the last line of My Shangri-La, that line, after the big Gothic organ thing, Bombus in there, and I did like holding that note out for an extensive amount of time, and it was not intended, and I just did it because I had a good stretch of time now to put it in before the finale of that chorus. So how that go, holding that note out on Now, I Need You Now, really that gave me a shiver after we got to the finale. I really. Yeah, that vocal, amazing. Man, it was like one take, 2 takes, and it wasn't, it was one of those things that you just didn't mess with afterwards,
And you can see as well right here. You can see it right here in the original. Now has a big long you can see it visually, and this is why you need to go to gtommac.com. And go to merch store and pre-order
I didn't know it was
yours.
going to be that. When I wrote that, I just thought something's going to happen. Some kind of riff is going to happen there. The gliding up was the
It was foreshadowed the whole time. We
That's
have
Robert Plant's
yeah,
favorite line too. That poem kept
yeah,
going into that.
yeah.
Grew
Robert
up with a
Plant's
while
a
back.
powerhouse of a vocalist. We've got
Mm.
Danielle McRae saying
Birmingham
Frog.
boy too.
Yeah, yeah, that's right. Danielle McRae says Frog Bros is my all-time favorite song and so underrated. Frog Bros is amazing. I sent you a video of wee Lucas singing it. My kids love Frog Bros.
You know,
It's,
interesting enough, it was always kind of daft to me that they never made the record label didn't make a video of Cry
mhm,
Little Sister. Again, I
yeah.
could care less at that point in my life. I'd been on the road. I'd been beating myself up sideways with career and everything.
Hmm.
And I was just so happy to be back in New York, and it allowed me to go back. You know, it was quicker time going to England, you know, and doing writing with my mate Roger Daltrey and
Hmm.
the and Robert Plant, as I mentioned, and others, you know. And I was just, and being in New York, I just loved my flat and been able to create. And it was a very romantic time to myself those years.
Hmm.
And so I really, you know, yeah, it's quite a different city. Well, it's still the same, but it's a
Yeah.
bit more generified. But as the world is.
Yeah,
But
absolutely.
yeah, it's getting back to Adam's point. I would say that that's really the one that that would probably be my favorite part of the song.
Hmm. Yeah. Dean Pierce here says the greatest songwriter and performer. G, we love you.
I know Dean Pierce.
Yeah, yeah, there he
Right.
is.
Thank you so much for that. How much did I
And
pay you for that?
I know, I know. What's the rate? Adam Warnock says, "Who was some of G's favorite artists growing up?" I could answer this,
Uh,
but I'm going to let
well,
G.
that's an easier question than what my favorite part of the song, "Cry Little Sister," is. Um, well, it was a mixed bag, you know. I was a big I loved Stevie Wonder, and then I loved Iggy Pop, and I loved Zeppelin, and then I loved an artist named Laura Nyro, who was this incredible singer-songwriter back then, and hardly anybody knows about her. And I loved Joni Mitchell, you know, and but then I never like got stuck in it. I mean, I liked of course, the Beatles and Stones and all that kind of stuff that was in my wheelhouse. But I never got stuck. It's not like I got stuck in that period of time. You know, that
Mhm,
was my, you know, like, oh, I see a lot of times when people get older, it's that music was the only music worthwhile, and anything today is not, you know. And
mhm,
I just don't have. I've never. I mean, the early days of hearing The Weeknd, which before he was, you know, famous, I just thought, wow, this guy's great, you know. And
mhm.
his earlier stuff was very adventurous, and you know, I mean, went down to pop road, and that's good too. I mean, I love certain pop things if it's done well, you know.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, I mean, God, I listen to so much now. I listen to so much stuff that back then it was a limited, you know, amount of things you could be inspired by. But
Mhm,
yeah, you know, I loved a lot of R&B, Sly and the Family Stone, things that were edgy R&B though, you know,
mhm.
and yeah, just you know, George Clinton, um, anything funky. The interesting thing about Cry Little Sister, it's crossed over to so many different, you know, it's in, you know, it's in the hip hop world. It's,
Mhm.
you know, obviously I
Dance,
did that I
trance.
think with Eminem, and then Ice Cube when I worked with him on the Players Club, one
Mhm.
of his favorite songs, you know. So it's amazing
I
where that song has traveled, because
uh,
in a million years, I never would have thought it would. I thought it had one genre, and that being sort of gothy, you know, that world, which
yeah,
obviously it
yeah,
is.
yeah.
But yeah, you just never know, mate.
Yeah, I've seen because I love Cry Little Sister. It's one of the first songs I ever put on my own iPod, and I've seen metal covers, I've seen classical covers, trance, hip hop, dance. The one genre I've never seen, and I'd love to, would be Cry me little sister. It would be cool to see it reggae. Could you imagine? Thou shalt not fall, brother.
That was brilliant, wasn't it?
That would be amazing.
Oh God, I tell you, I love it when people take the piss out of my music. There's nothing more gratifying or complimentary, I should say.
Oh
You
no,
know.
not at all.
But Andre Bocelli, he was going to his daughter was putting together a whole movie thing, and they loved Cry Little Sister. So we'll see. That'd be interesting to hear it done in an opera style.
Yeah, I mean, there's so many great artists out there. Just do it now. Now we're in the age of YouTube and TikTok, where people they essentially
Yeah.
take songs now and they can put their own spin on it. And we've seen that done with Cry Little Sister. I take it you saw there was one done during lockdown where the kids are all wearing masks, and it was done in like
I was just going to say that's my
yeah.
favorite one ever.
Is it
I mean, that
ever?
girl, I can't dial her name up right now. But
Yeah.
she sang that thing like it came from the heavens. I mean, it was just and beyond. I mean, she went to hell and back and came back up to heaven. I don't know how to describe it, but I was just enamored by that version with all those kids, all playing and in their masks and stuff. It was brilliant.
That must be like
You should play that on your show.
Yeah, well, absolutely. You must feel at that point like, wow. I mean, something you've written, and these years later is still so fresh.
Yeah, you never know how something's going to affect people. It's like I don't know. It's just I never would have imagined Kiss doing my song "Is That You" either. And because they write their own songs and they love, and it's a completely different thing, mind you. But it's just always. I guess what I'm saying is always surprising to me where my music goes. I mean, and Cry Little Sister being the perfect example of it, just crossing generations and races and what have you. I mean, there was been all these comments, and I thought, well, over the years, I mean, millions of comments, you can imagine. And even ones handwritten that was sent to me by a post back in the day. So I said, I should post a few of these things. And so I did last week. I said, I want to post at least 10 of my favorite comments. And they're all different and they're all brilliant, I remember posting one about a bloke who's gay living in Istanbul. He's 14. He realized he was gay, but he couldn't talk to anybody. But in the distance, at nighttime, he could hear Cry Little Sister playing from somebody, and somebody out, in another apartment or whatever. I don't know what the details were, but it would calm him, he said, and it made me think everything would be all right. And then he made it his business, obviously, to find out who did that song. And I thought I was so, that's when it just makes you feel you have a purpose, in life. And there was one that was, I mean, there's so many. I mean, I'm just remembering the ones I posted. And it's so hard to go through some of the ones that really are heart pulling. And there's some very comical ones too, which I'll be posting. And even the ones that think that I wrote it about incest, blimey. Where the fuck did you get that?
Incest.
So, but anyway, to your point, Kevin, it's it's really more about my purpose in life. I mean, if I did that, then I'm good. I don't need to. I mean, I'm still going to continue to write music and challenge myself and go out and do all the things I do. But it's when you can make a difference in some way in people's lives through music, especially. Yeah. And, that's a wonderful thing.
And speaking of always challenge yourself musically, G. Tom Mac, the Lost Boys story, the musical, which is also going to be, a touring musical. Well, one of your touring musicals. But this soundtrack is also on Spotify, and you can also buy it from gtommac.com, where you can also pre-order the new Cry Little Sister lyrics. And this is, by the way,
it's on
this
Amazon.
is a masterpiece.
Thank you very much. Yeah, it's been amazing how well, not the reviews. Like reviews have been good too, but it's amazing how the amount of fans have really gravitated to it. I mean, it's challenging, you know, and it's been, we were in a good place with everything. And then of course the pandemic happened, and then I had a nervous breakdown, I think. Something happened because it was just everything came. I remember being in England on the months of October, November playing gigs, and then came back, and I literally got back into New York and then flew back to LA. And and then come fast forward, coming back to the UK to do the show, part of the documentary. And I was lucky enough to get back into LA, and they literally 3 days later shut down or locked down. And it was it's pretty daunting. It threw me into all kinds of waking up in the middle of the night, not knowing what the hell was going on with my body and mind, you know. But
so
I'm a much better man because of it.
Yeah, trials and tribulations, I think they always get you to the next point of your journey, so to speak.
You know, when you feel like you're going to die, okay, all your life comes flashing in front of you before you die. Before you start to think, you start to think about, did I do enough good for people? Did my purpose really get across that people feel better about something, or they got to get to a better place in their lives because I helped do that, you know? I'm not a therapist, although I could be. But I just...
your music is therapy.
Erase that from your minds, ladies and gentlemen. But yeah, you know, it's interesting what life throws at you. And then you meet people and you meet individuals that just make the difference when you're going through your own shit, you know?
Yeah, absolutely. I definitely get that. We have another comment here. Cry Little Sister is a masterpiece, says Dane Beers. People who have tried to revamp the original, but the original can't be beaten. 100%. I mean, that's the truth.
Is that Dean again? I'll pay him to say that.
I know. The thing is,
I'm taking the piss, of course. Thank you, Dean. That's really kind of you to say that. And yeah, that's really cool.
There are quite a few covers out there that were very high profile. So, for example, Lost Boys the Tribe saw the cover that the band Aiden had done, and then we've got Marilyn Manson that have done a cover. He made it his own almost. And then we've got guys like Seasons After. They again made it their own, which each cover is all right. It's nice to listen to, but I think that you're never going to capture that enchantment of what Cry Little Sister is, aside from where you hear it on your version of that. But
yeah, I know what you're saying.
Of those though,
I'm sorry, go on.
No, I was just going to say, like, of the very high profile covers, what was your favorite of them all?
Well, I just said it a while ago, what we were talking about with that.
So
that
even
Macy,
more so than...
I just had her name, Macy something.
Yeah.
And she did it with those kids, and that really took it over the top for me. I think Marilyn did a really good, you know, he owned it like Marilyn would own it. And I really do think he did a great job. And I know it's one of his favorite songs coming up. And lo and behold, so was my other song, Is That You, that Kiss did, which makes sense. He was a big Kiss fan. But yeah, he was his manager said he was so nervous doing this song, and to hear it, and I'm going nervous, you know. And I just think he did a great job. You know, pulled it out the way he would do it.
That's amazing.
You know, the voice is a voice. You know, he has a different thing. He's got this incredible way of reaching his audience with his voice, and he knows what he's doing. You know. And I admire that. But, man, I did like the metal version with the Seasons After. I thought they did a really good job, and they were really lovely guys. It's interesting enough, they were from Kansas. And when I first came to America with my parents, and we were giving it a go, and we ended up in Wichita, Kansas for about a few years. And it was like in the middle of friggin' nowhere. But I learned, but there were all these great musicians around, and I was 12 or 13 at the time, and and I was just got to hang out with these older musicians who were just 18 and 19, who were just incredible. And one guy lived down the road. He taught me how to play certain chords and this, that, and the other. But they, seasons after, are from Wichita, Kansas. And it was, what a coincidence.
Almost serendipitous again.
Right. Yeah, exactly.
We have another comment here. Adam Warnock says, when writing lyrics, do you think it's got to be always from the heart? Because if not, it feels fake. Or do you think you can also add some made-up stories or add stories of the people you know as well?
Well, I'm half Irish, mate. Go for you. You can answer. That'll tell you about the made-up stories. So, yeah, I mean, I have a very vivid imagination. Those who know me can vouch for that. But it's yeah, there's times, even it's poetic, it's a poetic sensibility when you're writing lyrics, and which I always thought Bernie Taupin was masterful at doing that with Elton John. And when I write lyrics, you do use it, you use your experiences. And in the case of Cry Little Sister, I was using my own experiences with that, because I was in a very kind of dark place at that time in my life. And so was the city of New York, even though the film was, it was being done in California, had nothing to do with where I was at, But I try to I always, if it's for a film, I'm always putting myself in there some way. It's like, I've had the experience, right? And of being in that particular, whether it be romantic or in a dark place or just this, that, or the other. You can't just, melodically, I do, thank God, I can sit down, if somebody says, can you write me something for this movie or TV thing, and I don't have it in my catalog, I can sit down and do it. There's something that just kind of happens. So it's a little bit of a mixed bag,
Yeah,
of being
absolutely
inspired, and then, yeah, it's really hard to explain that, but definitely imagination is worth having when you're writing songs.
Absolutely. Dean Pears again on the payroll says the musical is a great album. Absolute diamonds on that album. I agree with that. Totally agree with that.
Well, correct. That's great. It's been amazing how it's a hard thing, because people have, there's two sides of it. The people that understand what musicals do, which you can't go remake the movie. And the idea here was to build a bit of a backstory and how they came together. And the only songs that really are new songs going into, older, better songs from the original are obviously Cry Little Sister and I Still Believe, because I think that's and that's not on the soundtrack, but that will be, hopefully when we get around to making a full-on cast soundtrack, then all these songs will take on pretty much the same versions, but they'll be done with cast member singers, that kind of thing. This was done much in the liking of what the Who did with Tommy, where the Who basically made Tommy the opera, a rock opera. And I thought to myself, yeah, I'm going to put this, I'm going to create these songs, obviously for the musical, and then I'm going to sing them. And then later, once we get down the road with the cast and everything, we'll do that album as well. So it was a way in which to get the audience intrigued by it, is a way to find out if they loved it or they hated it, And so far they've loved it. And I think there's a lot of people that go like, well, where is this song? Why comes People Are Strange isn't on there? Well, it might come on there again. We've been conversations, making musicals is much more time extensive than making a film. Yeah. And there's just so many components, and you're lucky to get it even made. I'm lucky to have gotten this far with it. But yeah, and it's, during the pandemic, I started writing another musical because I was approached to do it, and which I'm really delighted about. It's about the pen pal world in the 80s, and it takes a whole decade of 8 characters that grew up in the 80s in high schools, 3 different high schools, London, New York, and LA, and 8 characters come together in the pen pal world, and it's called Don't You Forget About Me. And so it was nice to get away from being so inundated with Lost Boys, everything, meaning the musical, going on the road, and to get and to this thing, Paul Brooks, who did Pitch Perfect,
Yes.
and My Big Fat Greek Wedding, and we started talking, and he said, he said, write me something, and I started thinking ideas, and I thought that would be a cool idea because pen pals were huge. That was the social media, very private social media, if you will, in the 80s. But it was big, and it's amazing how many people met through that. So, yeah, that's about as much as I can tell you right now. But I'm really pleased with where it's going.
Yeah, absolutely. I know you've been working hard as hell on that.
Well, I've been writing it writing the book / script with Charles Watson, a brilliant writer and director.
Yeah.
And I don't want to write it all. I didn't want to write it all by myself. That was just too much of a load doing the Lost Boys story.
Yeah, absolutely. So Marv Dogger 2 says, has the instrumental of Cry Little Sister from the opening of the Lost Boys ever been released? So like that track without, the one that you referred to at the start.
Has the instrumental ever been released? No.
Yeah.
From the actual movie? Is that what you're asking?
Yeah.
From the film? No, we've never released that, and we may at some point. But I have an interesting agreement with Warner Brothers. They, we basically in the beginning of this. At that point, I had a decent amount of success with when we went into Lost Boys, and we made the deal there. And but it's just approval, and yeah, we just at some point it'll probably surface to that, but not at this stage.
Yeah. I mean, there's still so much life in Lost Boys, and I think
you can go to a karaoke bar, though.
Yeah, that's true. You can find the karaoke versions online. Have you heard some of these karaoke versions, man? There is a new lease of life on the Lost Boys and the musical aspect of it with this record, by the way, and I can't stress enough how much you need to listen to it or go and purchase it, because there's many songs on there, and it's essentially Cry Little Sister gave birth to something else, because you've got Cry Little Sister on there. You've got there is an instrumental version of Cry Little Sister in there as well.
Yeah, it with an orchestra as well.
Yeah,
section in there, and that was a fun thing to arrange, and because it took on a different life, but it maintained. It's a bit more modern with it, and but I wanted to keep my vocal really to the same that same energy that I did 35 years ago.
Yeah,
and it's amazing I can still. That's the other thing about Cry Little Sister. Getting back to what we were talking about earlier, any singer can tell you that it's a very difficult song to sing. I'm not boasting about it, but it really is. I mean, I get it. I don't think about it when I'm writing a song. This is a fucking hard song to sing. It wasn't hard for me to sing because it just kind of was me. It was me, and but I didn't realize it was going to be that difficult of a song for others to sing. And every singer has come back to me saying this is not an easy song to sing, and then took everybody else to tell me that I guess you're all right then.
Nice. Yeah, one of my favorite songs from the Lost Boys, the musical record, is Long Hot Summer. That is just there's a thing about when you write, and it's a thing that you can also find in movies. It's an enchantment, and I think a lot of your songs in that record have that. And then you've got the fun side, which is Frog Bros Hero. That's just a complete. So
Which one? Sorry?
Frog Brothers Hero. Frog Bros Hero. That on the record.
Which I tell you, it was so much fun to write that. It was almost like, Frog Brothers, what would Tim Burton do about right now?
Yes, it totally has that feel to it.
And it was such a fun song to write. I had it, and to produce, and it was just, we were laughing the whole time in the studio. It was mad.
Yeah, there's some lines in there that make you laugh.
Yeah, it was. I was able to bring in a couple of really good Disney singers who'd been on everything, and to sing in the choruses, and they were brilliant, and we were all just having a really good time.
Yeah, so
When
that's a great extension.
Sung by by the master of the sort of maestro of the frogs, as we call him in the music.
Yeah.
It'll be really cool. And we're going to get, it'll be the Santa Clara townspeople taking a line here. One takes this one and that. It's fun. And but Long Hot Summer, I guess we could call it Gone Hot Summer now. But
Long Gone.
That was really, that's much Michael's song to start. Ooh, we got LA Sirens in the background.
There's not some half-naked girl on a balcony somewhere, is there?
What?
So there's not some half-naked girl on a balcony somewhere, is
well,
there?
yeah. You never know around here.
Yeah, exactly. It's an inside joke for everybody wondering what we're talking about. You'll find out one day.
Little corner, everybody. You like this little corner?
Yeah, absolutely. The V Shadow Gallery painting in the background and a Gibson SG, a fine Gibson SG.
Yeah, it's wow. What is going on in my neighborhood?
Well, I know what's happening. This podcast is so lit that the fire engine's on the way to your house.
They're after us, Kevin.
Absolutely. They want to be one of us.
Hey, by the way, like my new design?
Yeah, hell yeah.
I just mucked about. I was just going back to my punk days, right?
Just take a couple pairs of scissors and what's not. I'm sporting the Santa Carla. You can.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah, you can find those at truffleshuffle.com.
Bring
Great.
That on. I'm wearing
absolutely.
Jacket.
Nice. We've got a comment there actually from Dean Pierce says, Evie says hi, G.
Hi, Evie.
Got some
That's
some
lovely.
absolute fans. Adam Warnock says, what would you say is your favorite song you have written, being one for yourself or another artist? So of your songs, maybe even that's a double barrel question there. So what's the favorite song you've ever written for yourself, and what's your favorite song that was written by someone else?
That I've written for another artist?
Well, just one that you've written, and then one that you didn't write.
Oh, so one that I didn't write. Okay, that's the last question. Okay, one that I wrote for another artist. God, that's tough. I did like my song. There was a duet between the artists Michael McDonald and Phoebe Snow, and I wrote a song called "Right to the End," and they did such a great job. Really good, and it could be my favorite. And then, as far as another artist goes, what my favorite song by another artist? That's again, you come up with these loaded questions, Adam. I have a good mind to. I don't know. I mean, that's so hard to say. I mean, Sheryl Crow did Burt Bacharach's One Less Bell to Answer, and I thought that was incredible.
Yeah.
I know that sounds mad, but you wouldn't think, but it's just it was such an amazing version of that song, which was from a musical. God, because I love so many different artists, speaking of from Marilyn Manson to Depeche Mode, Enjoy the Silence, I got to say. Yeah, let's just go with that one.
Wow.
It's a really great song. It's gives you shivers every time,
There's another song that you have written, which is, again, I love the song. It's called Half, and it featured in Scrubs.
That is one of my favorite
brilliant song. Lyrically as well, there is so many great lyrics in that.
Thank you.
It's almost like a woman questioning, or a man essentially questioning why take half the moon when you could have the stars, right? I just think poetry.
Yeah, well, it's that going back to what I said earlier. I mean, there is a bit of that in me. I think I would have been, if I didn't stumble into music at an early age and become so enamored and passionate about it, I definitely would have followed in the steps of wanting to be Oscar Wilde or any of these other great writers that were,
Yeah.
Dylan Thomas, all those people that'll be old school,
Yeah.
clever. I would have gone down that road. I really would have, because I've always loved. I love reading. I love reading clever literature, watching clever films, no matter what they are, whether it be horror or romantic or this. I don't know. I'm just all over it. I'm just all over anything that's creatively good and alarming. I love when things are alarming, where they just shake you up and you go, fuck, what happened here? Because that's the way you live. You got to keep the blood pumping, mate.
Yeah, absolutely. So before we kind of head towards the end of the show, Cry Little Sister's legacy will essentially be the fact that it will outlive us all. So in 100 years' time, Cry Little Sister will still be as relevant and loved and revered as it has ever been. To you, how do you feel these years after Cry Little Sister? Do you feel that it was always received? I don't think I've ever heard anyone say that they dislike Cry Little Sister. For you, has it been kind of mind blown how a song can just take on its own life and almost become an extension of who you are?
Yeah, I mean, again, the thing that I realize that makes that it will go on and have a life long after. I think it's when I was in New York City. I had a realization. It was early on. This was like 2 years after the movie had come out, and I was with my then girlfriend, and we were going up to get out of Manhattan, and we were going up the West Side Highway to go across the bridge over to what's called Palisades. We were just in the country, we were getting away. I think we were staying at her parents' house or something, and she was always telling me about this her mate that she worked at a magazine company called Money Magazine. And she said, my friend Lakeisha says that your song is banging in the hood. And I'm going like, I highly doubt that. I mean, mind you, we're 2 years in after Lost Boys. And I'm thinking like, well, the goth audience is probably getting this. And there's probably fans of the movie. And, I certainly was seeing the checks come in. And so I said, Leslie, this is highly unlikely that that's the case. And I kid you not, I took a turn to get out so I could dodge some of the traffic because I knew how to go through Harlem without having to get to the GW Bridge. And it was a Friday afternoon, sweltering hot in New York and in Harlem. And everybody used to say, God, you would drive through Harlem. I lived in New York long enough. I know how to take care of myself. And then I see there's this car. We're bouncing with smoke coming out of it. I know it sounds like out of the movie. And I'm hearing Cry Little Sister, but I'm thinking Cry Little Sister is coming from something else. And I'm going, wow, that's so cool, that car. It's like just, and it was just in that early period where that was going on. It was more going on in Cali,
Yeah.
But as we got closer, and then my girlfriend at the time looked at me and said, so Lakeisha, she's banging in the hood. This isn't banging in the hood. And I'm going, I guess you're right. I had no idea. But I say that because the realization of like, wow, this thing is crossed over. And then the more realizations of people in the country world of like that. I mean, I'm serious. People, hillbilly factor, not
wow,
guys or hill gals or hillbillies. But it just is, it's, classical musicians. People are really well trained and have studied. They go, this is a classical piece of music. And I'm going, I don't get that. I can understand if you say, Paul McCartney and John Lennon, those will go on. But, but then the more to your point, I think that it's probably got some kind of life, I won't live
absolutely.
to see. And you won't either.
No, absolutely not. This is one of those tracks that, it will live on. And I think it's easy to say this myself, and I speak for everyone, that movie and that song partnered together. Like the movie, as great as it was, without Cry Little Sister would have been missing something. I think Cry Little Sister is that,
It's really interesting when you perform it, when I perform it live, and I performed it live to many different types of audiences, Hispanic audiences, this one, that one, and but it's just this feeling of connection when you play that song to people, and you can feel them so. You can feel
Present.
it so deeply, I don't know how to explain it, but you feel when you other songs, you feel that too, but not to that extent. So
Yeah.
something's going on.
I can verify that I was in the audience in Manchester when you took to the stage with Mark Hoffman. He's got on the piano, and you started playing "Cry Little Sister." The whole place, we essentially went from being individuals to one conscious being. There was us and you, and we were one, and you were another. It was enchanting. It was magical.
Yeah, it really is magic, and I mean, I'm not saying that boastfully. There is something. It's really just the spirit of magic, and I feel it's it's I had a long. I just saw Brooke McCarty's name come up here, and it's Chevron.
Yes,
And, I just but Brooke and I had. He was the one that broke it down to me. He said, "You have no idea. You're oblivious to how powerful your song is." He said, "You've written a lot of powerful songs, but this one just goes to another stratosphere." And Brooke was one of the most intelligent. He was my best mate. He was the drummer he became the drummer
That's right.
in the band, and it pains me heart just to think of him, which I do all the time, but to talk about him, I should say. But
He played Paul in
it
the
was
Lost
so
Boys.
interesting because he was so. I hate to use the word intellectual, but he was so well read and so smart, and talented beyond. I mean, he was an unbelievable drummer. I mean, you can ask Roger Daltrey, you can ask any of these people to go, wow. They saw him perform, they would just go. And he was talented, he just had his soul wrapped in the arts, what can you say?
Yeah.
Well, I'm sorry, I went on a bit too long.
No, not at all. Jevron, who, by the way, hosts a page called the Lost Boys group on Facebook, which is brilliant.
We love Jevron.
Absolutely, Jevron's.
He's the real deal.
He is absolutely the real deal.
There's many sites out there, and a lot of them are good. But we've yet to meet in person. We attempted one time in London, and but it's been way too long. And Jevron, as I said to you before, I'm not just taking you out for a drink. I'm taking you and the wife out for dinner. So make your way up to Chiswick.
He's good on his word. He's took me for dinner once. It was great. I had a great spag bol.
What's that? I'm
and a
sorry,
couple of
mate.
beers.
What?
I was saying to Jevron that you're good for your word. That you took us all for dinner one night for some macaroni. I had spaghetti bolognese and some beers and stuff.
We still got some time left on the planet.
Absolutely. And by the way, you'll be back over here.
That'll happen. Okay.
Well, you never know nowadays. Yeah. But you'll be back over here.
I did get vaccinated finally. I think I mentioned that to you, so I could do the interview. But I did that. Got the second jab the other day, and because I tell you, it's abided by all the rules. I mean, it's just mad. It's just. But I was starting to say abided by all the rules. I never abide by all the rules. What am I talking about? Then anyway, I hope to. Yeah, I'll definitely be coming back home. And yeah. So there's some good stuff. There's this new museum in Birmingham, a proper historical music museum that I've been made aware of. That's going up, and somebody had reached out to me about that. And I am a Birmingham boy. It'd be great to be in the likes of with Robert Plant and Jeff Lynne, Stevie Winwood, and not to mention all the other artists that have made good for Birmingham over the years.
Yeah, and we'll be doing stuff in the UK for the documentary probably within the next how long, as soon as we're able to. So a meet up with Jevron is definitely on the cards. And by the way, did you know that Jevron's also a musician? I checked out a video.
I know his history,
Yeah.
I know where you live, man. I'm coming after you.
Brilliant. Yeah, so we're absolutely looking forward. But I'm looking forward to that, and I think it's no secret to the audience that when we're able to, G will be back on stage, and he'll be doing more shows over here in the UK. Some will be quite personal ones, and some will be bit bigger stages with
At this
orchestras.
at this stage, yeah. At this stage,
Yeah,
I'd be happy playing in pubs all around England.
yeah. Hey, mate.
I'm telling you, that would
Yeah,
be that would be fun.
yeah,
So all you pub
absolutely.
owners over there, get ready for me. Me and my fiddle and a guitar.
Yeehaw!
Yeah. Did a
Yeah.
country. Well, I did almost a bluesy country version of Cry Little Sister for True Blood. If anybody's seen that,
Yes,
quite a few
yes,
have. That was a fun thing to do. HBO
yes.
did a really good thing with that. Yeah.
That's right. I find the woman as well. It's so you're performing it, and then the wee woman that does the chorus, she's like, "Thou shalt not fall." I was like, I could
Well, I'll
slap
tell
my
you
knee to
what, we'll
this.
go make that version.
We'll get Jev.
What I was about to say, I really can't say on there, especially if there's small children around.
There are a few
I'm
studios over
always
here. We'll
aware
do
of
that.
that now. It was so funny when Kiefer Sutherland was talking in an interview about Cry Little Sister. And he said, I can't go to, let me see how to say this, a dancing bar,
An adult dancing bar.
a dancing bar without hearing Cry Little Sister. He said, this is just to let you know, this song is everywhere. And I just,
Yes.
I just laughed my ass off. It was so funny. He paused. He said, a dancing bar. Good delivery, Kiefer.
Yeah. It's true, and there was a scene in the Best Thanksgiving Ever by David Paulus, and he wanted to use Cry Little Sister for
That's right,
the
yeah.
stripping scene. But what actually worked out is you guys came to an arrangement, and you do pretty much the full soundtrack to that movie, which is bloody awesome. I really enjoyed that. So if
Yeah,
anybody's never
I
checked
love
that
doing
out,
that film. It's hard doing
Mhm.
comedy. It's really hard to
Yeah.
write music to comedy. I mean, like
Mm.
scoring, I did all of that bit.
yeah,
And it was not that I do a lot of that. I mean,
Mhm.
every producer I've worked with, from Jerry Bruckheimer to this one and that one, Hans Zimmer, who's a music composer, a brilliant one at that. All
Mhm.
said, you should go down, you should be composing films. And I said, yeah. And, you make a hell of a lot of money doing that. But I just, I felt there was just, it would take away from, I don't know, take away from the things I love performing live, and not to say
Yeah.
you can't do that, but you would be limited to going out and doing, building your own thing. I've just always been a bit of a maverick at that, but I did enjoy scoring that film and a few other things I've done. It's always fun because
Yeah.
you get into this vibe that you're responsible for getting to setting up a scene or not,
Mhm.
and delivering things over the just
Yeah.
giving that extra life to a film.
Yeah, absolutely. It's amazing. David
Best
Wilt says,
Thanksgiving ever. Everybody should go stream
"Hey,
it. It's a hell of a
absolutely.
funny movie. It's a bit
Mhm.
on the outside of funny, but you get it. It's really quite good.
There are points that have me like howling. You can find this on Amazon Prime. There's a point where the guy goes up to the window and sees his missus getting done by another guy, and then the next scene he's just like this in his car,
Yeah.
just like defeated.
Oh my
That for
God.
me, that's the comedy nuance right there.
It's
But
good.
that's
Dude, some of the outtakes from that film was brilliant. I mean,
yeah,
I said, David, you could make an hour of that, and I'd just watch
yeah,
that.
absolutely, yeah. And by the way, it would be great to see a sequel to that. It would be amazing, and I'd love to hear more. I mean, there's a song you have. I don't know if it's called Rockstar, but it really,
Yeah.
really,
That's on my
yes,
Untamed the Songs album.
brilliant song.
Yeah, that
Yeah.
was a fun album to make. It just, it's weird. I felt really hopeful about that.
Mhm.
I mean, if people download the songs from it, but check that out, Untamed the Songs. I mean, if you really want to get a good gist of what I do,
Mhm.
the full circle of Mad Years gives a whole collective of movies, songs that are people, has the original version, demo
Cry Little
version of Cry
Sister.
Little Sister.
Mhm.
It's a good overall retrospective in a way.
Absolutely, it's unbelievable, and it's a great way to kind of look back at some of the work you've done, because people will they'll be so shocked to see all different TV series and movies that you've done, and how different you sound in different eras of your career. That's
Yeah,
why we
it's
always
always
call you
that's been a blessing and a curse, because that's the same guy that did Cry Little Sister. I did a movie called Gray Lady, where it really required kind of a bluesy, soulful voice out of me. The song that I did for it, Eyes on the Prize, another good little film. It's on. What is it on? I think it's on everywhere. I think I know I saw it on Amazon Prime, but it was a Lionsgate film. And but Eric Dane, the star of the show, he said, "Man, I can't believe you did this." And then somebody I can't remember, maybe Shane Lee Curtis said, "You should write some Meryl Streep of voices." And I'm going like, "What the hell is that name?" But it's kind of like, I think it comes from imitating different artists coming up. When I would sing their song, I'd sound like Stevie Wonder. I tried to sound like Stevie Wonder, or sound like Mick Jagger, or Bono, or this, that, and the other. And my dad was a bit of a mimicker. So, but the real voice in me is when songs like Cry Little Sister and Long Hot Summer, pretty much everything I did on the musical.
Yeah.
I mean, there's a real voice. There's a real voice no matter what. I can just do many of them.
Yeah, absolutely. Just different facets. But again, I can't stress enough for everybody to go and at least stream it on Spotify, and then purchase it anywhere that you want to. This is, I'm not just bigging it up. It's an amazing album. I've streamed it. I stream it obviously, and I still put it on. But it's one of those that it'll never get old.
Let's not forget my cool T-shirt.
Yeah.
They're not going for sale yet.
No, not yet. Only to get Heather to draw them up.
You knew what I was wearing at the bottom of all of this, you'd be laughing your ass off.
Is that a pair of Speedos?
As would Keith Lemon. Because I'm really basically got nothing on except my flip-flops. And no, I'm not doing what you think I'm doing.
Oh God,
get me off this show. I'm starting to lose it already.
Well, on that note, you can
feed me.
You can go to gtommac.com/merch, or you can just click on the merch button when you get to gtommac.com, and you can purchase an array of t-shirts. There will be new designs coming soon. There will be new stuff coming really, really soon on the store.
Instagram me. Do everything you can so I'm not so lonely.
You can also, I'm trying to make sure there's no glare here. If you go ahead, if you go and pre-order this on GTOM Mac store, you will receive one at the end of September. This here is just a prototype. It's a really nice frame, and it will have the exact paper. I mean, not the exact one, but the exact same paper that GTOM Mac
with
wrote
the exact
this back in from 86. So there'll be amazing replicas. You can go ahead and pre-order them now. It's been open since the show began, and G, maybe if you meet G at one of the conventions, he'll sign it for you, or you can get it off the store. But
Halloween's right around the corner, folks.
Hey, exactly.
So get out your dollars, get out your pounds, make it happen.
Exactly. So G,
absolutely
not. You've got to, mate. Everything's a grind nowadays, and you will be doing very soon. Your YouTube channel will be having more content going up.
Yeah, exactly.
Now that the world's opened up back up as well.
Yeah, I'm the amount of time that I don't have the amount of time that I'd love to spend on doing this. That's why you hire other people. But you got to supervise this stuff and oversee it and make sure that But yeah, there's some good content up there.
Yeah.
So
absolutely.
I'm going to run off, and you are as well. So
yes, absolutely.
Wherever you are, whenever you're watching this, have a good day, night, whatever you're having.
Absolutely.
Lots of love. Thou shalt not die. Oh, by the way, you can get the mask too. The Thou shalt not die.
Yeah.
Yep.
Is it behind you there? Yeah.
Should I play a song going out?
Yeah, absolutely. I've got a cover coming up soon. I wanted to just read this one last comment here too before you go.
Okay.
Andy Hall says, "Hey G, if Cry Little Sister is the last song I hear before I die, I will go a very happy man."
In respect to the loss of our great Brit Charlie Watts of the Rolling Stones, I'm going to play the very first song I ever learned. Was a song by the Rolling Stones called "It's All Over Now." Well, my baby used to stay out all night. that's no lie. Table turning, now it's her turn to cry. Because I used to love her, but it's all over now. Yeah, yeah. Because I used to love her, but it's all over now.
Hey. Still got it, never lost it. Amazing,
guys.
G.
All the
Amazing.
best.
Absolutely. So I'm going to finish up here tonight by playing us out a cover by Chris Davison, someone that G actually took
I
with
love
him.
Chris Davison. He's one of my favorite artists. I should have mentioned him earlier.
Mate, absolutely. He is my absolute favorite. If I had to say best cover of Cry Little Sister ever, it's this next song
I told
for
him
me.
that. I mean, I should have mentioned him earlier. I just, got so hung up on the female version.
Yeah.
I love females. You know that.
OG.
Got a shout out to the females. But Chris, is he going to do it live?
No. So I've got his original one here. We're going to show it to the audience who have
Check
never
his
seen
stuff
it.
out.
Yeah, absolutely.
He's a brilliant artist. He opened up for me once, and I was just enamored by his set. And
amazing, and the voice as well. Absolutely. So again, G, thank you very much for coming on. It's not the last that these guys will see of you, especially the documentary coming out. But have a great week, and we're going to finish here with Chris Davison's cover. Make sure to go to his YouTube channel, Chris Davison. It's also linked there in it. And again, guys, thank you for tuning in. It's been an absolute pleasure. G, we love you, mate, and we will catch up with you soon, mate. All right.
Love you too, and love everybody. Keep the real thing happening called love and dignity. See ya.
Take it easy, guys. Thanks again.
Bye now.
Bye-bye.
shine.